The grid's dead. Trucks stopped rolling 3 weeks ago. Supermarkets got picked clean in 72 hours. Here's what nobody tells you about collapse. Wealth doesn't vanish, it just changes address. Your stock portfolio? Worthless. That garbage bin you wheel to the curb? Treasure chest. We've been trained to consume, discard, repeat. Convenient. Stupid. When supply chains die and factories go silent, trash becomes the difference between surviving and becoming a statistic. 5 items currently rotting in your garbage will be worth more than gold when civilization stops functioning. Not metaphorically, literally. Gold doesn't purify water, doesn't start fires, doesn't cut or contain. Gold sits there being shiny and useless while you freeze holding it. The things you throw away without thinking, those are the tools that keep you breathing.
Pay attention. Item 1. Plastic bottles. Those disposable water bottles environmentalists shame you about. They're not disposable. They're indestructible petroleum-based containers that outlive civilizations. Strip the label and you've got transparent, waterproof storage that doesn't corrode or shatter. Water purification? Fill it, leave it in sunlight for 6 hours. UV radiation kills pathogens. It's called SODIS. Storage vessel? Airtight seal keeps food dry for months. Cut the bottom off, you've got a funnel. Cut into strips, you've got cordage for lashing or trapping. Melt edges with heat, you create waterproof pouches for tinder. Pack them with dry leaves and stock them as insulation barriers. The plastic flexes, but lasts years under hard use. Physics doesn't care you paid $1 for it. This thing you tossed after 1 drink, multi-tool that never quits.
Item 2. Dryer lint. That annoying fuzzy buildup you scrape off the filter and flick into the trash without a second thought? Congratulations, you've been throwing away the most efficient fire-starting material on the planet. Dryer lint is cotton and synthetic fibers, shredded down to microscopic strands with massive surface area relative to mass. That's the key. Fire needs oxygen contact. The more surface area exposed to air, the faster ignition happens. Lint is essentially pre-processed tinder with near-perfect combustion geometry. 1 spark and it ignites in under a second, burns hot, sustains flame long enough to catch larger kindling. No commercial fire starter matches this performance-to-weight ratio. None. Collect it in a waterproof container or stuff it into empty toilet paper rolls. Seal the ends with wax if you want bomb-proof reliability. Cotton lint burns cleaner and hotter. Synthetic blends produce more smoke but still ignite fast. Either works. When temperatures drop and you need fire right now, not eventually, lint delivers. The difference between hypothermia and warmth is 3 seconds of flame. This garbage you've been discarding weekly, it's survival currency that weighs nothing and never expires.
Item 3. Aluminum cans. You see a 5-cent deposit. I see prefabricated metal that requires 0 smelting. Aluminum is lightweight, corrosion resistant, reflective, and malleable enough to shape with basic tools. Cut a can open and flatten it. You've got sheet metal. Polish the interior with ash or sand, and you've created a signal mirror visible for miles. Sunlight reflected off aluminum produces a flash bright enough to attract rescue or communicate across distances when radios are dead. Cut the metal into strips and file the edges. Now you've got cutting tools or arrowheads. Not ideal, but functional when steel isn't available. Fold the metal into a cone, and you've got a funnel or sound amplifier. Keep the can intact, punch ventilation holes, and it becomes a cooking vessel or water boiler. Aluminum conducts heat efficiently. Heats fast, cools fast. The metal doesn't rust or degrade. Stack them, crush them, trade them. In a barter economy, aluminum cans are raw material currency. Lightweight, durable, infinitely reusable. This thing you crushed and tossed for nickels? Fabrication material that outlasts you. Let's keep moving. Item 4. Soap scraps. Those tiny slivers left when a bar gets too small to hold? You toss them because they're annoying. Wrong move. Soap is a chemical weapon that doesn't need electricity or fuel. Soap molecules have a hydrophobic tail that embeds into lipid membranes and a hydrophilic head that binds to water. When you wash, you're ripping apart bacterial cell walls at the molecular level. total annihilation. Collect those scraps, melt them with minimal water, press them together. You've reconstituted a full bar. Or grate them into flakes for rationed use. When antibiotics run out and infections turn lethal, soap becomes frontline defense. Wound cleaning, surface disinfection, personal hygiene that prevents disease spread. The difference between a cut that heals and one that goes septic. Soap also has barter value. People trade food for cleanliness when desperation sets in. Every sliver you threw away was currency you burned. This annoying leftover?
Sanitation system that works without infrastructure. Item 5, glass jars and bottles. You recycle them because you're supposed to. Noble, useless. Glass is pre-industrial technology that outlasts empires. It doesn't corrode, doesn't leach chemicals, doesn't degrade under UV exposure. It just exists, inert and functional for centuries. Airtight storage that keeps food dry and pests out. No plastic off-gassing, no metal rust. Fill a clear glass bottle with contaminated water, leave it in direct sunlight for 6 hours. UV radiation penetrates the glass and neutralizes pathogens. It's called SODIS. Same principle as plastic bottles, but glass doesn't scratch or cloud over time. Break the glass deliberately, and you've created cutting edges sharper than most factory knives. Obsidian-level sharpness from throwaway containers. Use intact jars for fermentation, preservation, or trading. In a barter system, a sealed glass jar is a premium container people will pay for. This thing you handed over for recycling credits, it's a storage system that survives apocalypses.
Item 6. Cardboard. That shipping box you flatten and toss without thought? It's compressed cellulose fiber layered for structural integrity. Insulation material that traps air in its corrugated channels and slows heat transfer. Line your walls with flattened cardboard and you've added a thermal barrier that costs nothing. Burns slower and more controllably than loose paper, making it reliable fire fuel when you need sustained heat, not just flash ignition. Soak it in melted wax or animal fat and it becomes water resistant, suitable for emergency roofing or ground cover. Layer multiple sheets and you create surprisingly strong structural panels for reinforcing shelters or building partitions. The material is lightweight, abundant, and requires zero processing. You can write on it, mark territories, leave messages. When everything else runs out, cardboard remains because nobody thought it was worth hoarding until too late. This box you broke down for the recycling truck, it's building material that weighs nothing and costs nothing. Item 7. Used cooking oil and grease. That congealed math you scrape into the trash because pouring it down the drain clogs pipes? Congratulations, you've been discarding liquid energy.
Lipids are hydrocarbons. They burn. Pour used cooking oil into a container, add a wick, and you've built a lamp that produces light and heat for hours. The oil doesn't need to be clean. Doesn't matter if it's rancid. Fire doesn't care about expiration dates. It metabolizes fat the same way your body does, breaking carbon bonds and releasing energy. Old grease also works as a lubricant for tools, hinges, anything that needs friction reduction. Coat metal with it and you've created a rust barrier. Mix it with wood ash and you've got the base ingredients for soap. Through saponification, the chemistry is ancient and reliable. In a world without electricity, light becomes a tradable commodity. People will barter food for a few hours of illumination. This disgusting sludge you threw away, it's fuel, lubricant, and barter currency that never loses value. Here's what you need to understand. Wealth isn't what you own. It's what you can use.
When the systems collapse and the supply lines die, your bank account becomes fiction and your possessions become dead weight. What matters is function, physics, chemistry, the ability to solve physical problems with physical tools. Every item on this list represents a solution you threw away because convenience made you stupid. You've been conditioned to see trash as worthless, but trash is just resources you haven't learned to value yet. The difference between survivors and casualties isn't luck or stockpiles, it's knowledge.
It's the ability to look at garbage and see infrastructure. Start collecting now, not someday, now. Because when the lights go out and the stores stay empty, the person with a box of dryer lint and used cooking oil has more real wealth than someone clutching gold bars in the dark. That's not philosophy. That's thermodynamics.